Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Inventor Club. My name is Brian Freed. I'm the founder, and it is a pleasure to have you all here this evening. And we have an amazing lineup as usual with amazing guests, and very excited. We are in June of 2024, and we are streaming live not only in the Inventor Smart Community app, but we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram. so we are definitely out there and excited for everybody that's watching and listening tonight because we have Commissioner David Gooder. He is from the US Patent and Trademark Office. So when we talk about coming up with a name for our invention, or maybe we came up with a brand for our business, we want to be able to let people know and recognize who we are and to have that differentiation compared to what's already out there to really make a name for ourselves. And that's where trademarks come in. But don't listen to me tonight. You get to hear it from Commissioner David Gooder. So we're honored and it's a pleasure to have him on. Why don't we start off by having Charlene Walters. It's always a pleasure to have her on because she gives amazing tips and advice to entrepreneurs. She has a book called Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur, and she comes on every month and gives some kind of tip. So what do you have for us tonight, Charlene? Thank you for opening up this evening.
Always a little bit of something, right? So generally speaking, I talk about entrepreneurial mindset and how you can succeed as an entrepreneur, as an inventor. And I've probably talked about this on a past meeting because we've had a lot of meetings together, but I thought this was a big one, particularly now. We're all so busy. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about organizing your time. And I know as an inventor, as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you're doing this as a side hustle and in addition to your full-time job and your family and all of your other commitments. So here are some quick tips to help you organize your time. So as you know, with trying to get a product or get a service or something out to market, you really have a lot of goals. So it can help to first start off, break down your goals, and then look at them carefully and attach an action plan to each, right? A goal is great, but if you don't break it down into the steps that'll make it actually become a reality, it's not any good. So helps to set your action plans and goals and then sort of schedule those pieces into your schedule, attach a timeline, of course, and really always look at your schedule, both day to day, right? I always sit and write a bunch of things down every single day that I want to accomplish. And it gives me great satisfaction to cross them off, however you want to do it. But also you have to look at the big picture, right? Where am I in this whole thing? And sometimes we're so kind of caught up. Everything feels like it's going very slowly. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who feel this way all the time. But in reality, you're moving a lot faster than you really think. You've accomplished a lot more. So it's important to check in on yourself. Another thing that I like to do and recommend to others is just to really plan ahead, particularly when you know there's a busy period. Maybe you have a bunch of presentations coming up, or there's a quality review coming up, or something that you need to get done, right? And you know that's coming. So try to get as much as you can done ahead of time. I also like to tackle the stuff I'm putting off first, right? Because the longer you delay that, the more it's just hanging over your head, the more you're dreading it. So try to get that out of the way. Check on yourself, like at the beginning of the week, at the end of the week, where are you at? Where do you need to be? And then just also it helps to look at your schedule carefully, right? I like to look at my schedule and see what's distracting me on my schedule, what's sucking up my time unnecessarily, and try to get rid of those things. And if you really pay attention to it, you'll find those places. You'll find what's, maybe you're, I don't know, every single evening you're watching Netflix for a couple hours, right? You can fill that up with other things. So look for those holes, streamline your office, streamline everything that you're doing so that you can find things quicker and easier. And then again, really think about yourself, find time for balance, practice self-love, right? Make sure you're getting enough sleep, all that good stuff, because the better and more well-rested you are, the better you'll be able to tackle everything and learn to not overcommit, love yourself, put boundaries in place, feel okay with saying no when you need to. We can't do everything, even though we'd like to at times. We're not Superman or Superwoman. So just really take care of yourself and put yourself first also on the schedule.
Thank you so much. Charlene, I feel that way many times. And what I do is, whether it's a sticky note or whatever it is, the most important thing for me is to just capture the idea, that whether it's an invention or a task that I need to do. What advice or what tip can you recommend? Or is it just Google Calendar or iCal? How do we capture what we need to those tasks to be able to see them? Because if it just piled up, that's when we start to get a little crazy.
Yeah, I think, it's really good to put it on your actual calendar, as you mentioned, and lay out a few major tasks every single day. I also like to have like a master list somewhere on my laptop so that I can go back to it. And I think that something that people overlook is sometimes, like, we have a meeting at 1, we have a meeting at 2, maybe there's 15 minutes, so we don't want to start anything yet. Like to really fill in those little slots with the things on your list that are kind of hanging out there. So having a master list can really help, as well as scheduling today. I like to write in a notebook because I like the satisfaction of actually crossing it off every day. But it's good to be digitally organized too.
Thank you, Charlene. And I see the pile. Last time we weren't in that room. So this time I think we have your book. Can you show us your book?
Yeah, I have one right here. I have a pile back there of my books. Here's my book. If you're interested, it's called Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur from McGraw-Hill. You can get it on Amazon or whatever. And it's about entrepreneurial mindset and how you can kind of change your thinking to grow in confidence and to really move forward with your idea, with your product. Because Brian knows, and I know, you really need to be strong mentally in order to make it a reality.
Thank you so much, Charlene. I think we've touched just on a fraction of your book. So we have plenty more to go, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for making it tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, let's continue on the path of entrepreneurship, where we have Candice Stinnett. She is from SCORE Mentors. Everybody has heard of SCORE? Maybe, maybe not. But Candice, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and SCORE? And if you can give us some tips and advice for us budding entrepreneurs out there.
Love it. Thanks, Brian. I'm happy to share more information about SCORE. So SCORE is a nonprofit organization. We're a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. And our goal is to give every person the support they need to thrive as a small business owner. And we do that through 3 main offerings. First is our free business mentoring, which is free for the life of your business. We also offer low or no cost educational workshops on our website or in person in a community near you. And finally, we have thousands of free resources on our website. Business plan templates, financial calculators, whatever you need to start, run, or grow, or successfully sell or close your business. Thinking of that, I love that Charlene kicked us off with a tip about setting goals, because that is, of course, a very important step. And if one of your goals is to monetize your invention or turn it into a business, one of the first steps that you are going to want to tackle is conducting market research. Now, there's 2 types of market research. In primary research, you conduct your own research on customers who match your target demographic. There are lots of ways to go about this. I believe Justin's on the call, so he might have a tip about that. But that is one way that you can collect information about the market that you'll be targeting. In secondary research, that's where you're going to use existing sources of information to collect information about your market, your competitors, or your audience. You can visit government websites, industry surveys, and other sources for information. Now, if you're currently working on something like that and you need help, come to SCORE. We do have free business mentors that will work with you, talk to you about your idea, and help you understand the steps that you need to take to be successful and to reach those goals that you set for yourself. And if you want to get started with a mentor, or if you want to take one of our workshops on this topic or others, just visit us at www.score.org.
Thank you so much, Candice. You're right. Justin Chen from PICFU will be on in a moment talking about market research and giving some advice to us there. SCORE is a great resource for inventors and entrepreneurs. They will help with finding you a mentor, connect you up, no matter where you are in the country, relate to what industry your idea is in, whether it's a business or invention again, and kind of guide you through. And they are funded through the Small Business Administration, offices all over the country, easy, even on the web, they're accessible to be able to get what you need to accomplish. And I'm excited to be hosting a webinar with SCORE and Commissioner Gooder, along with Commissioner Vishali. So both commissioners of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, we're going to be on a webinar on SCORE in July. So we will fill all the National Inventor Club members in on that. And that's going to be really exciting. We always have a great crowd.
Absolutely. We're excited about the presentation.
Thank you very much. And please tell Bridget, the CEO of SCORE, that we said hello. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. Okay, well, let's bring on Justin Chen. First, I'd like to thank you, Justin, for your sponsorship and your support of the Inventor Smart community and National Inventor Club. And we're very excited to have you partner with us. PICFU has been very interesting. I've had a chance to use the platform myself, but before I go into it, why don't you introduce yourself and you could tell us about PICFU.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So I am Justin Chen. I'm one of the co-founders at PICFU. And as Candace alluded to, we are a consumer research platform that lets you get instantly gather crowdsourced feedback on your product ideas, designs, logos, marketing creatives, all within a matter of minutes. So we have a panel of millions of US consumers who will tell you what they like or dislike about your product design or help you choose which logo is better. And it all starts at $1 per response. So 15 responses is just $15. The way it works is you just ask a simple question, upload a creative or two, choose your audience. Then we're going to go out and we're going to find your target audience. We're going to incentivize them to respond. And then we're going to make sure that they give you stellar written responses. So the tip I have today is to see if people think your product does what you think it does at first glance. And I think as inventors, we often underestimate how obvious our inventions are or how communicative our packaging is. And with how fast people shop online, it's really important that you communicate this value proposition very clearly and quickly. So you can do this on PICFU. You can go run a poll, put up an image of your product or your packaging or maybe your main store image. And then you could ask the question, what do you think this product does? And you may be surprised at what people say. And speaking of brands and trademarks, the topic of today's talk, you can also test your brand the same way. You could put up your logo or your brand name and ask, what kinds of products do you think that this company sells? And that's a good way to make sure that you're building a brand in the right direction towards your target audience. Or if you're looking to test different names, you could ask what product name do you prefer? And then you could upload an image of your product and then add all the different name variations that you might have. So it's a really nice way to get out of your own headspace to make sure that your product concept, your packaging, or your brand name are all resonating with your target audience. And since we are partnering with the National Inventor Club, we do have a coupon code for 50% off your first poll with the coupon code Inventor. So for 15 respondents, that'll be $7.50, super affordable for anyone, and you'll get feedback in a matter of minutes.
Thank you so much. I'm thinking about it from an inventor perspective of the steps that we have to go through. So I had a chance to just recently use the platform PICFU and pick 2 logos. I put 2 logos up, and in less than an hour, I had 50 respondents. And it was so interesting because I said, which one do you think is the best and why? And the poll showed me the percentage of who voted for what. And then each one of those respondents actually gave feedback. All these people are under non-disclosure agreement. And we know how it is, Justin. We ask our friends and family, and if they told us that our idea sucks, the name that we came up is not good, whatever, any kind of word that you want to come up with, we know that we're going to be upset with them. And they know we're going to be upset with them. So they're just going to tell us it's great and wonderful. But how nice is it to have that no connection, what do you think about my idea, the iteration of it? Maybe I have 2 versions. Maybe I have a certain color. I have an inventor I'm working with. We have a certain type of product, and I'm saying I think it's one color, and he thinks it's another color. Well, let's put it to the test. So these are the type of things. So every step of the way of your invention journey, you can actually use PickFu. And whether it's 15, 20, 50, whatever your budget is, you can create these type of scenarios on there. So Justin, again, thank you for being a part of National Inventor Club, the Inventor Smart community, and keep doing what you're doing. I know you keep building that platform and making noise on it. You and John, thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Brian.
Speak to you soon. Okay, let's see, who do we have next? Let's get John Risby. Here he is. He is known as the patent professor, and I was taking a glance to see if he was there because he is in Florida with some serious storms. I don't even know how he's on right now with all those lights because I think he had a blackout a few minutes ago. Thank you, John, for joining us and for being a partner of National Inventor Club, Inventor Smart Community app. I know that we have the Commissioner of Trademarks on today, but I know that you have a tip for us on the patent side. So if you could just introduce yourself and then give us your tip for the day.
Sure. I'm John Risby. I'm known as the Patent Professor. My law firm is actually known as the Patent Professor as well. We have about 60 professionals, 9 attorneys or patent agents. We have former examiners, all of us focusing on just one thing, protecting ideas and protecting brands. So I'm really excited to hear the commissioner tonight as well. And my tip that I have is something that's really going to apply to both. My tip has to do with non-disclosure agreements. And I get a lot of clients, inventors that are asking me to help them draft a bulletproof non-disclosure agreement. And a lot of times now they'll find something online or they'll draft something themselves. And can you make this stronger? Can you make it bulletproof? And I just wanted to point out a huge limitation of a non-disclosure agreement. Essentially, the person that signs it is making a promise to you. It's a contract between 2 people. And the promise is, I am not going to steal your idea or your logo or your brand. And the I could be a company. We are not going to steal your idea or your brand. Now, where the limitation is if they leak that idea to somebody else, you can't sue them for breach of contract. Your recourse would be against the person that's actually using the idea, and they don't have a contract with you, so you can't sue them for breach of contract. So just keep in mind that non-disclosure agreements are great, but both with patents and trademarks, you need to file the application. That's critical. With trademarks, if you start using the brand, at least you have use in commerce to help protect you. But for patents, as of 2013, the U.S. Patent Office is on a first to file system. So whoever files the application first, that's critical. Non-disclosure agreements are great secondary protection, but don't rely on them just by themselves. You should have the patent on file and at least pending.
Thank you so much. So, John, we've had a chance to get to know each other, and I know that you have a lot of clients that are coming into National Inventor Club and Inventor Smart Community and vice versa. So we're excited to have you partner with us. Thank you so much. And we will see you again very soon. That's a very important tip. Those non-disclosure agreements, a lot of people aren't sure when to use them, how to use them. But look, it's important to have. If you're going to disclose your idea to somebody, all it takes is them to just say, look, I'd like you to sign this. It's basically letting me know that and putting you on notice that you're not going to talk about my idea to anybody without your permission, without my permission. That's it. So you have it. And that was a great tip. So thank you so much, John.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And when you came down here to our office, you were raving about the weather. And what did I tell you? I said, you're seeing like the best time of year and wait until the rainy season and the hurricanes and the summer gets here. And that's where we are. Then you're right. It's lost power, flooding. There's you name it.
Well, thank you for making it to the feed here today, and we will see you again soon. Hopefully you stay safe and dry.
Terrific. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. All right, let's bring Sean Taylor up. Usually Sean Taylor has a sidekick, Samantha St. Raymond. She's not with us this evening. She had to work. So Sean, thank you for joining us. You're the Chief Community Officer. Samantha is the VP of Community. And look, it's been cranking, right?
Yes.
What are some things that we've done in the last couple weeks even?
Wow, it's the meet and greet has really taken off. We're doing so well. We're enjoying it. It's growing. We have done so much stuff. We have traveled in the last couple of weeks, and also we're doing the after parties. Just the community is so involved in a lot of stuff. We have the fire chat with you, Brian, that we do, and also the book club, which is awesome that we're involved in. It's just so much in the spotlight for the premium members. It's a lot of things that we're involved in as a community, and it's been great. It's been great.
Fun. And what Sean is talking about is our Inventor Smart Community app. If you go on Google Play or Apple App Store, you can download it. It's free. There's premium membership, like she mentioned. There's some other things that we do. But everybody is more than welcome to come in and be a part of it. We have, like she was saying, book clubs and meet and greets. We get a chance to just ask people and each other questions and help each other out. And that's what it's about. And in between these meetings, and the reason why I invented the Inventor Smart Community app is great. We have these meetings once a month. We can do Q&A and we can have people involved. But what about the rest of the month? Well, now we have a way, our very own social media, without any of the noise, to be able to go on and help each other out and communicate in different things. So thank you for your help and support, Sean. And we have a couple members from the club that are new, maybe not so new. Let's see if we can get up. Bernika's there. All right. So if you all can introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're from, and if you have an invention to share, or if you just want to talk general. Sean, who should go first?
Oh, hey, Steve.
Well, hi, Sean. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Congratulations on everything, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, my name is Steve Ayer, and I'm in Midland, Michigan. And I joined the Inventor Smart Community app with Brian. I spoke with Brian on a Zoom call about 2 months before you launched this, Brian. And I was really interested, and I thought, what a great idea. And now that I'm a part of it, I'm a premium member, and just meeting all kinds of great people, and the resources there are great. And the people that you have come to speak for us are just of such high quality. It's really impressive. And so I'm the inventor of a walker glides called Smile Glides, and they're meant to take the place of those tennis balls you see on medical walker glides all over the place. So I've got a walker leg here. What it is, I've got 5 patents issued on this, and another 6 or 7 patent pending, and 3 trademarks. So in your walker leg, you put this in the bottom here, like that, and the way that's shaped, it smooth goes in any direction really easily, unlike the little skis and whatnot. And the first little part that I came up with was this little flower pot, and that's what it's like without the flowers. And it comes with flowers like this, little artificial flowers. And when it's finished, it will look like this. Okay. And what you do, you take the leg, and this is the leg of the adjustment buttons for the height of the walker. And this just slides down the leg like this. And I don't know if you can hear that. And it locks on there. So that's not going to come off of there. So now you've got a flower pot. You put the walker leg back on, and it's just a design. And then if you wanted to change this very easily, you just remove this. And for instance, if you wanted another one with, let's say, yellow flowers, that would just slide down the walker leg the same way and lock on there. And then if you wanted to do something like a baseball, the baseball slides down and locks on also. And so this universal walker leg, those upper sections can be endless. Right now, I just have the flower pots. I just had my first 950 units put together at a place called the Arnold Center here in Midland, Michigan. And they're a place that helps developmentally and physically disabled individuals learn work habits and work resources and how to do different things so they can try to get a job. And they put up all these in these little packages. And there's the little package. You want to take a look.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve.
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
We are
Awesome.
going to have an inventor showcase.
Mhm.
We actually have a pretty fun name for it, which we'll announce. But we're going to have an inventor showcase where everybody who is a premium member is going to be able to pitch their idea, present their idea. So we will get deeper into your pitch. We appreciate
Yep.
you
Well,
being a
that's pretty
premium
much
member.
it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And smileglides.com is where we can buy
Yeah,
it.
the site's not up yet, but you can reach me at steve@smileglides.com.
Thank you very much, Steve. We
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having me.
Good job, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes. Chris, come on, Chris.
Chris is actually our inventor spotlight of the month, and he will be posted on the Inventor Smart Community app in that section, most likely by tomorrow. And Chris, congratulations! Thank you for being a part of the Inventor Smart Community app. Why don't you tell us your success of why you're in the spotlight? Uh-oh. Just unmute yourself there, Chris. There you go.
There we go. Thank you so much for having me on, Brian. Let me tell you a little about me and my product. I started Fitnix to basically be able to bring and use a gym anywhere. And so it had to be portable. So it started out as a 3-pound dumbbell. And the key is, so you can do all sorts of cardio and strength exercises with that, like dumbbells. But what if you want to add more weight? Because I didn't want to add too much weight because you're traveling all the time and sometimes too much weight gets cumbersome. So they connect to perform self-resistance exercises. And this is when one arm resists the movement of the other opposing arm. And you can see here that it comes with a foam mount. And there's an app to show you how to do every single, I'm not sure you can see that. There's over 700 different exercises you can do with these. So they disconnect very easily. And you can see that they're also push-up bars. What's great about these, once you put them on the ground, is it keeps your wrist in a neutral position, which for me was really key in helping alleviate my wrist and elbow pains that plagued me for many, many years. And I don't have any of those issues anymore, thankful to these. Now, I wanted to even be more comprehensive than what I just showed you. So it comes with a number of attachments. And you can see here that it comes with this X anchor mount, and that would be bolted into the ceiling. And then you can put these straps on carabiners on either side, and then you can do pull-ups with them in this position. And actually, you could lower it to do dips in this position too. And there's actually hundreds of different exercises that you can do.
That's great, Chris.
Yeah,
we appreciate it. So
Yeah.
there's you have Fix in Nix or fixnix.com is available for us to take a look at.
Yeah.
We appreciate. So we're going to take a look at it. And Fixnix, did you
Mhm.
trademark that name?
I did.
Good. Well,
Wow.
you're going to hear from the commissioner soon. We'll see if it got accepted or not. No. But no, that congratulations on where you are right now. It's for sale, so we can buy it. There's the app available. There's information on the website,
Absolutely.
and we will see you in the app also, in the Inventor Smart Community app, and we'll keep in touch there.
All right. Thank you so much.
great job, Chris.
Thank you
Awesome.
for having me on.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bernica, I haven't forgotten about you. I'll let the guys go first so that you can see what it is that they do. Give you a couple of minutes. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Hi, we was formerly met through email a few
Yes.
days ago. Hi, it's nice putting a name with a face with the name. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and
Okay.
why you here, why you joined.
So my name is Bernica. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. Right now I reside in Jackson, Mississippi. Originally, I was just doing a Google search looking for like-minded individuals, inventors like myself, just to kind of bounce off information. I'm right now, my product, I'm in the beginning stages, even though I've been working on it a few years. I'm sure we all know how that goes. Um,
Right.
I'm just in a prototype phase and kind of looking for, I actually need the prototype, or I would like the prototype because it just makes it when you're
Mhm.
talking to investors, it just looks better.
Mhm.
So my product, it's an adult novelty item. It's a water sex stimulator. It's something completely different. So if you try to think about it, you probably won't guess. It's
Mhm.
something completely different from what's already out there. And I know it's a market for it. I know it's the need for it. Maybe not a need, but I want. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that. And like I said, I just came to the app just looking for like-minded individuals,
Great.
and I found it, and I'm happy to be here, honestly, because I have learned a lot, and I've probably been in the app about 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Thank
Glad
you
to
so
hear
much.
that. Welcome. Welcome to the community. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernica. Thank you, Chris and Sean. We will see each other and speak to each other, connect in the app. We have a bunch of activities going on for the rest of this month. Next month, we have the Inventor Showcase and book clubs. And
Yes.
I think we're also going to have a meditation group.
Mhm.
We have Dr. Shire is also a member of National Inventor Club, and Inventor Smart App, so he'll be joining us.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, so let's have Commissioner of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Trademark Division. Thank you for joining us, David. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you travel, you speak all over the place, and now you get to be on National Inventor Club with us. So thank you so much.
Hey, this is a treat to be here, Brian. Thanks so much. Anytime I get to talk about trademarks, it's great.
David, if you can first introduce yourself, tell us what it means to be the Commissioner of Trademarks at the USPTO.
Okay, so I'm Dave Gooder. I've been the Commissioner of Trademarks for a little over 4 years. It's a 5-year term. And essentially what I do, the USPTO has a patent side and a trademark side, and then it has all the other departments that help everything run, because there's about 13,000 employees altogether. About 1,300 of those are trademarks, and about 8,000 or 9,000 are patent employees. So I'm essentially the CEO, Chief Operating Officer, whatever you want to call it, of the trademark side. But I'm a trademark geek by background. I've been practicing trademark law for easily 30 plus years. I was for about 25 years the Chief Trademark Counsel for Jack Daniels and the company that owns it. And then prior to that, I was in private practice. So this gig, so to speak, kind of came up late career, and it was kind of an opportunity too good to pass up. When you're a trademark geek, this is a great job.
So us as inventors, we start off as inventors. Some of us are entrepreneurs that might come up with an invention, and we want to come up with a great name. Maybe we want to build a brand. We have a product name, we have a brand name. Some people think that you should trademark your own name, which it gets a little bit more deeper in the weeds, but really there's different classes of goods that are out there that you can kind of call your own name within that class of goods. And that's what we try to figure out, is how we're going to be able to protect ourselves. Many people use trademarks to build assets. For example, you heard of the Snuggie. So the Snuggie, the blanket with sleeves, came out many, many years ago. But a marketing company said, you know what? This is a really cute name. let's come up with a blanket with sleeves and call it the Snuggie. And they didn't have a patent on it, but that's why you saw the Slanket and all these other versions come out, because they built a name with that Snuggie. So I know that you have some interesting information to share with us this evening. So let's take a look and see what you have.
So we jump in. Okay, sounds good. And we'll touch on those topics that you just mentioned as well. So
Great.
Okay, so there's essentially, well, I say 5+ here, and it's just 5 things, and then there's one more we're going to talk about. Things that an inventor, an entrepreneur should know about trademarks. There's a lot to it, but if you know these 5 things, and you will be so much better off, and you'll end up in a much stronger position, Brian, because you're right. Patents expire, and trademarks, as long as you keep using them, they keep going. I mean, I worked for a brand for a long time that started in the 1860s, and it's still as strong, if not more so than ever. So trademarks are a much different creature than patents are. But that in fact, that kind of brings me to the first topic, and that is, people say, well, what's the difference between patents and trademarks and copyrights? Because you hear people say this all the time. Well,
Right.
Can I get a trademark on that copyright, or can I get a patent on that trademark, et cetera? Well, okay, here's what you need to know. These are the simple differences between them. So trademarks, quite simply, are a symbol of goodwill. And when we say a business, it can be an individual, a small company, massive company, whatever. But it's that communication to your customer that they refer to as goodwill, and the trademark is a symbol of that. And what it identifies is where that comes from. It doesn't have to be specific. You don't have to know that this company comes from, Jackson, Mississippi, or whatever, but you know that it comes from this one place that owns that trademark. And lots of things can be a trademark. That's what's kind of exciting about it. So, for instance, you can have. Wait a minute, not yet. Trademarks can be words, they can be symbols like logos, they can be sounds, they can even be scent, smells. Most of the time what you see are words and logos. It can be the shape of the container that the thing comes in, like the packaging. If you think about a Jack Daniel's bottle, that top of the bottle, the way that is designed, that actually is a registered trademark. So it can be lots of different things, and if they function to communicate to consumers that goodwill and that source, that's a trademark. So it's pretty straightforward. Patents are a little different. Patents cover there's 2 different kinds. There's design patents in the U.S. and there's utility patents. Utility patents really cover the guts of something, how it functions, excuse me, how it works, how it does what it's supposed to do. Design patents cover non-functional design elements of the particular invention itself. But patents are important because trademarks covers, think of it as covering the face of the product, the name of the product, who the product is. Patents cover what's inside, essentially. The thing to also remember is patents expire 20 years after the time they were filed. Now, there's techniques where people try to keep them alive. And your patent colleague who was on earlier probably knows lots of those things. But think about it that way. I sat at a dinner about a month ago with the National Inventors Hall of Fame, and sat at the table with the guy who invented the Super Soaker. And he told me something really interesting. He said, in hindsight, I wish I'd paid more attention to the trademark, because the patent expired, but the name continues along. And he didn't own the name, and so he was not able to extract as much value out of his invention as he might have otherwise had if he didn't pay attention to the trademark side of it.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
when with trademarks, we sometimes see a TM,
Yeah,
and you're showing an R. What's the difference?
it's really simple. An R just means it's registered. That's what the R stands for. So we'll talk about this in a second, but TM just means, or SM for service marks, just means you're claiming rights in it. It doesn't mean that you have anything. It just means you claim it. So if you see TM on something, take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes it might be absolutely accurate. Sometimes it might not. Registration symbol means somebody applied to register the trademark at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and they received a registration for it.
So when I'm using, if I if I start using it, I can put a TM on.
Absolutely.
When I show that I'm using it in commerce and I show it to your division, I show that it's being used in commerce in that certain class of goods, I can turn my TM into an R.
No, not until you register, not until it gets registered.
Not until it's registered.
Yeah. So not until it's gone through the process and examiners looked at it, they've cleared it, said, you know, it's entitled to be registered. Once that registration issues, then you can convert it to the R.
Absolutely.
So copyrights cover expression of ideas, okay? Typically you see it in photography, poetry, computer software, a novel, any kind of that kind of creation of the mind. It does not cover short phrases. So if you have a slogan, let's say, that's covered by trademark law, not by copyright law. So a lot of times people will have, you can have multiple pieces of intellectual property in the same invention. You can have a trademark for it. It can have a patent. It can have copyrights depending on what you do. So that's the thing number one, to just kind of use that. Now, when you go to a cocktail party and people say, can you get a patent on the trademark? You say, you know, you can't do that. You can now tell them what's up. Okay, thing number two, you got to understand how trademark rights are created, because it's different than patents. Patents, you apply for a patent, and it ain't a patent until the USPTO says it's a patent. That's not true with trademarks. So let's walk through that. There are two systems of trademark protection in the world. One is the first to use, and one is the first to register. The world's pretty much split. The US is a first to use country. That means if you use a trademark and you never register it, you forgot, whatever. Your brother-in-law said he'd take care of it for you, he doesn't. You still have a trademark that is valid in the parts of the country where you've actually used it. You're better off if you register it, but it's not that you don't have a trademark. So we do not, the Trademark Office does not issue trademarks. What we issue is registrations. And that's a really key thing to remember. So that when you develop your trademark and decide you want to use it, you start using it. You want to register it because it's stronger and it gives you more rights, but just keep that in mind.
So
And
even if I don't register it, I have a TM I can use. I'm putting people on notice that I'm using it.
Yep.
I should just keep track of when I started to first use it in case somebody else challenges, to show that I used it first.
Yep, that's a really good idea. That's a good idea. And keep track of samples of what you used it on. Because sometimes, 2 years later, you're trying to register it and you're like, oh, I know I started using it 2 years ago, but you can't prove it.
And it doesn't have to be on the product itself. You can also show, like, your website can almost be a brochure, right?
No, not for goods. For goods, it has to actually be on the product. If it's services, a website can do that. Now, there's one catch on that. If your product is, let's say you're selling goods, like the gentleman had the fitness devices. If that's for sale on a website and there's photos of it there and you can see the mark on the goods, you can utilize that. But by and large, it's got to be on those physical goods somehow, or the containers that go with the goods. So for instance, if they get shipped in a really unique box, you see that sometimes with unique packaging. If the brand's on the box, that works too. But yeah, it's got to be on there. Just brochures don't work for trademarks. They work for service marks.
So the brochure is good if the product is on there with the name on the product.
Yeah, it's got to be on the product, because
Yep.
it's too easy to fake a brochure. That's part of the problem.
Understood.
So, all right. So we talked about trademark rights in the U.S. are acquired by use and not by registration. Remember that that's not the same way in other parts of the world. So if you decide to go market your product in the European Union, you're working in a different system. And we don't have time tonight to go into what do I got to think about if I'm going to take my trademark outside the U.S. Maybe Brian will do that in a future session if you want. How do you travel abroad with your trademark and not get it stolen from you? But trademark rights in the U.S., they come with use. Like I say, your rights are valid, but they're more limited. So with registration, the law presumes, let's say you use your mark in the West Coast of the U.S. You get it registered. You're now a presumptive national user. You can use the Artist Circle. You show up on the database. You are presumed to be the owner of that. There's a whole lot of things that attach to that registration. So it's absolutely worth it, given it's not that much money. It's much less expensive than a patent to get. To get that registration, here's where that use in commerce, Brian, you were talking about comes in. You've got to use it in interstate commerce, or what we call territorial commerce, meaning to or from a U.S. mainland and a territory between U.S. and a foreign country. You can't just sell it to your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law. You have to have real use. But that's not that hard. The law doesn't require you to be successful. It just requires you to do it right. And so if you once you've got that proof of being able to sell it in interstate commerce, and if you're selling online, that's really easy to do. So keep that in mind. But that's really important to understand, that use versus registration. The other thing to understand is trademarks are very territorial creatures. That means this. If your trademark is protectable in the United States, it doesn't mean that it's going to be protectable, let's say, in Mexico. You have to take the language of the other country and what that means and what do consumers think in that country. So just don't there is no such thing as a global trademark registration. So trademarks are something that if you're going to sell in, let's say, Mexico and Canada and NAFTA countries, then you need to go about applying and clearing those marks in those countries, because they may mean something totally different. There's amazing examples of trademarks that meant something in the language of one country, and when you took it to another country, it meant something entirely differently that sometimes maybe wasn't so great. So just remember that trademarks are, in the US, are a creature of US law. Go to another country, it's a creature of their law. And largely has to do with the fact that trademarks are indicative of what consumers think. And a consumer in Morocco isn't necessarily going to think the same way as a consumer in the US. All right, number 3. This is a biggie. If you don't remember anything else tonight, remember this. A lot of people go and they incorporate their business, or they file what's called a fictitious business name. Some people call it a DBA, meaning doing business as. And a lot of people assume that creates trademark rights. It doesn't. Just remember that. It doesn't in most places. Now, maybe it does in that little pocket where you live, but that's not good enough for what you want to do. So I can't tell you how many years I heard people come to me and say, hey, this is my trademark, but somebody else is using it. And I know I secured it. What did you do? Well, I incorporated it. Or I filed a fictitious business. It is not enough. So don't fall into that trap. It might help you if you ever get in a priority contest. What I mean by that is, if somebody came out with the same mark and you're like, no, I used it first, being able to show when you registered it as a company name or a DBA can be useful evidence, but it doesn't really help you. So don't fall into this trap, whatever you do. Okay. You can't keep trademarks unless you use them. You see a lot of companies who had a trademark, let's say in the 60s, and somebody may try to use it in the 90s. Well, if the company stopped using it in the 60s, trademarks kind of fall back into the language. That takes a while, but you have to keep using them. So that's what I mean by you can't warehouse them. You got to be continuously used. Now, we ran into a lot of trouble with that during the pandemic, because there were certain kinds of marks for certain products and services. They were shut down. Think about theme parks. Theme parks didn't function in the pandemic. And if you had a trademark for, let's say you were selling products that were only sold at Disney World, well, you couldn't sell it because it just wasn't functioning. The law provides that you can get around that kind of thing. But by and large, you got to use it to keep it protected. So just use them or lose them, right? Typically, unused trademarks after 3 years you're presumed to have abandoned it. In some countries, that's a little longer. But if you're going down the road of not using a mark for, going on 3 years, you got to think really hard about, am I done with this, or do I need to make an effort to keep using it? And you may be done with it. I mean, that happens a lot. So, okay. Here's a big area. People talk about, how do I own my trademark? How do I get to use it so that I don't get sued? Or if I want to stop somebody else from doing it, what do I got to know to do that?
Right.
And essentially, trademarks apply to the goods or services that they're used and protected for or registered for. So don't get hung up on what category it falls into. Well, my goods are in class 9 and yours are in class 10. Forget that. It's about what are the actual goods and services, because that's what we pay attention. The categorization helps the trademark offices and helps trademark professionals do things, but that it's not an absolute in those categories. It's not what we call a right in gross. So a copyright says, if I have a copyright, it doesn't matter what you use my copyright on, I can stop it. If you use my rights, I can do that. Trademark's a little different. All you gotta do is think about, you used to watch, think about the movie studio Paramount. There's lots of companies called Paramount in lots of different categories. And that's why the more unique the trademark is, the better off you are. Think of the old Warner Brothers cartoon where with the Roadrunner and the Coyote and what was the name on every single thing in that cartoon? It was Acme. It was Acme Dynamite or Acme this or Acme that. Well, there's lots of companies named Acme out there. So just keep in mind that it's not an absolute. If you said, gosh darn it, I registered this mark for fitness products and somebody else is using it with respect to, I don't know, let's say whiskey. Well, it's not likely that the people in those industries are going to cross over. So the same exact trademark might not infringe the other one. So just like, so there's two issues you got to think about. One is, is it protectable? Is it a protectable trademark in the first place? And the second is it available? Or what is the risk that I can use it without getting sued? So you got to figure out what's ownable, meaning you can't own a concept or a theme at all. And you can't own what you can't protect. So that's why this protectability becomes a big deal. And that's why you got to know what that is. So let's look at it. All right. Every single trademark out there, you could put them on this scale and you'll be able to look at exactly how protectable they are. So think about it this way. On the left side of the screen, I think it's the left, where the red side of the arrow are trademarks that are unprotectable. You can call your product that all day long, it's never going to be protectable. On the far side is trademarks that are totally protectable. In fact, a name on the left side of the scale isn't really even a trademark. Well, what do I mean by that? It's this. Names on that side are generic terms. So t-shirts, whiskey, wine, smartphones, routers, all that kind of stuff. If you are calling yours something, what essentially the name of the category, it's not protectable. So keep that in mind. Now you start moving down that spectrum and things start getting protectable, but it takes a while. So the next category is what we call descriptive marks. And these are things that they describe something about the product. So for instance, Deschutes. Deschutes is a river in Oregon. Happens to also be the name of a beer. So Deschutes is a descriptive place. It's a geographic place. If you come from there, it's descriptive. You can't own a descriptive mark. It's not protectable until you've used it long enough that consumers start to connect it to your product, not, let's say, they connect it to the beer, not the river. And that's what we call secondary meaning. And you get that through advertising and promotion and all that kind of stuff. You can be a name of a person. Odd to think that when Jack Daniels came out, it wasn't protectable. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, but pale ale is descriptive of a feature of the product. Now that you probably can't ever register, but it's descriptive. Suggestive marks are the next step up. Now, these are ones where they might seem a little descriptive, but you got to know something else. This is when you get into marks that are really protectable from the start. This is the territory you want to be in. So look at these trademarks, and all of them, sorry about that, all of them are words that you kind of think, Groupon, well, it's like coupon. Well, but what's Groupon? I don't know. Groups, coupon, what is that? I don't know what it is. Netflix is the same thing. 10 Barrel is a brewery. Witch's Brew is a beer. You got to know a little more. These are great trademarks. They're not as good as when you get to this end of the spectrum. And that's arbitrary marks. That's a normal word in the language, but when you apply it to your product, it's totally protectable because it's not the normal use. So for instance, Blue Moon, it's description of Blue Moon, but not a beer. Apple for computers. If you're selling fruit, Apple is generic. If you're selling computers, Apple is a completely arbitrary trademark. One of the reasons why it's so strong. Amazon's in the same thing. So it's a forest in South America, right? But not for what they use it for. So if you can get into this arbitrary crowd, that's really one of the best places to be. The last place is what we call coined terms. These are completely made up words. It's a great story behind the trademark Kodak. When they were creating that, over 100 years ago, they told the name people, the agency people, they said, I got to have a word that can be pronounced in every language in the world. So that means the sounds have to exist in every language. And those two sounds, ko and dak, were the two they put together to make a word out of it. So those made up things are great. Now, the difficulty with these trademarks at the right end of the spectrum is it takes more work by the business to establish them. But the law rewards that. That's why they're so good. So the next thing you got to do is, let's say you've looked at this and you say, okay, my trademark's protectable. I'm feeling good about that. The next question is it available? And that's where you do this process of risk assessment. That's where you do searches of the trademark office database or private company databases or Google. There are huge consequences for not searching. So you've got to do it. And you can do it yourself, but I will tell you, this is an area you don't want to skimp on in terms of utilizing really experienced trademark people. Excuse me, because this is where you're going to figure out what the path looks like for maybe the future of your trademark. We typically do it in 2 levels. You can go online and do what we call screening search. It'll knock out, some people call it a knockout search. It's going to show you stuff that's just, not going to go anywhere. Somebody's already got it. Don't waste your time. Full clearance is a much more exhaustive search. It covers the trademark office databases, but it also covers all these uses. Remember we said that you can have a valid trademark that you didn't register? That's what you're trying to find. And I have seen situations where the trademark, the register was clear, the main searches we did were clear, and lo and behold, we call it the bear in the woods problem, out from a particular state came a user of an identical trademark and completely foiled the launch of a product. So this follow-up investigation, this whole process is really important to do.
So David, on this slide, for us as inventors, we came up with a good name. We're trying to figure out if it's something that we want to trademark. The last slide was excellent to really understand the descriptive all the way to the coin-based, coinable term. So this might be a little heavy for us. So what should we do? I understand you mentioned we should most likely seek professional help to make sure that before we do trademark that we're in the clear and we're not going to be using somebody else's name in that certain class of goods or be confusing in commerce. So what's the easy way for us without having to spend any money to start with to kind of like vet if it's kind of to start with in the clear?
Yeah, I mean, go online, go to the database of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. You can search. It doesn't cost anything. You got to kind of learn how to search a little bit, but if you're pretty good at that, you can get a good idea of what's going on. You probably will find the direct hits. And at this level, that's what you're trying to find is what would knock me out? I mean, what's throw that one in the trash and keep going.
That's what a lot of people do, David, because we've spoken about it in different presentations. So for us, we can go on USPTO.gov. We can go into the trademark section. We can click on the search and put in what our interesting term is. If it's generic, most likely we're not going to get it. So we want to come up with some interesting name, whether it has a few different names connected on top to make it so it's unique. And that's where we would search. And then a list will come up and there are some logos, there's classes of goods that they're in. And that's kind of like a preliminary search that we could do just to see. And right, what
That's
about
the best way to think about it? Is it's the first step.
So if a domain name is available, that doesn't have anything to do with trademarks, right?
Correct. Okay. Correct. And yeah, and we'll talk about something one of them things in a second. But yeah, this is the key. And the most important part of this is this level 2. You're trying to find the unregistered users because they can foil your plans just as much as somebody who's already registered it.
Great.
So.
Oh, we got some good questions coming in too. So
good.
Yep.
That's what I mean. Searching our records is great, but it's just not enough. Okay, I want to touch on one thing, and that's that there are a lot of scams that are revolving around trademark filing and the prosecution of an application once you file for it. And that's because the records of the trademark filings are public. That's not the same with patents. When you file a patent, it is confidential until it issues. Trademarks, it's basically public from the moment you file it. So unfortunately, there are scammers who are out there and they're trying to pick up the information, and you've probably seen some of these. They come by email, they come by text, they come by regular mail. And they're trying to get you to do things. They're trying to convince you to pay them. They can get things done, or they might try to get you, a year or two down the road, saying, it's time to renew it. The scams are amazing. But there's 6 things that if you can remember these 6 things, you'll stay pretty clear of this stuff. First of all, a lot of the scams are trying to pressure you to act quickly. When we write you a letter to do something, you've got 3 months that you can extend to 6 months to do it. So if somebody says you got to get back to us by the end of the month, this is bogus. It's just, you just assume it is. Typically they are unsolicited. So they're trying to get you to do things that you didn't ask for. You didn't go on the website and ask to be contacted. This just comes out, and they'll have your serial number. They'll have your mark. They'll have your name on there. It can look legit. A lot of times the name even sounds like us, but it's not. Any kind of demand for payment, you pay when you file, you pay when you renew, and you pay if you have what we call an intent to use application. Anybody saying that you got to pay to move to the next step, that's bogus. They come from unknown people, like say, that you don't know. They've got a lot of information in them about when something's due. And sometimes they'll have a request for some sort of sensitive information. Think about it. You've got social security number, bank, any of that stuff. When you see this, pretty much you can ignore it, and I would. Now, if you're unclear about it, what you do, you can go onto our website, and we've got a whole section about scams. What they look like, how to prevent them, how do you respond to one if you get it, what are the latest scams. You'll see this whole section here. We keep track of them as soon as we hear about them because we ask people, let us know when you get them. We talk a lot about them now on social media, so that when we get a new scam, we try to let everybody know they're doing this now, they're doing that now, and to watch out for them. And the web materials got all sorts of stuff about what you can do and how you can protect yourself, etc. The biggest thing is you can help if you see one that's sent to you, report it to us. That's TM Scams. There's our web address, our email address. Also, the FTC is now working with us to fight this as well. And if you report it to them at this web address, then that'll really help. So reporting is a big thing. If you're not sure whether it's legit or not, there's a thing called the Trademark Assistance Center at the trademark office. They are brilliant. They are highly trained. You can phone them, you can email them. They can tell you, hey, I got this note, says my renewal is due next month. I didn't think it was. Can you help me? They can look it up and go, no, that's not true. That's not true.
I use them all the time, David. And we're a strong advocate of the Trademark Assistance Center. Yeah. It's like they know everything and they can navigate you through and help you if you can't find something.
Oh, yeah.
I can say that I get a lot of, with my trademarks, I get a lot of monitoring, exorbitant amount of cost if I wanted to monitor my trademark. Listen, everybody's entitled to make a living out there. It's important for us as inventors to do our due diligence. We don't want this to necessarily be a fear. We just need to be aware. And if we're not sure about something, then we can ask. But it shouldn't stop us from filing.
Absolutely not.
Right? And we have mail or whatever correspondence coming in. We just need to check and make sure that it's from you.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And these folks in fact, they celebrated their 30th anniversary this year. And they're a brilliant group. They're just a brilliant group. So, I mean, lawyers call them, non-lawyers call them. Whenever you have a question, these are the go-to. There's 3 other areas of resources I just want to mention that are really useful, and they're all free, and they're really well done. The first is what they call the IP identifier. If you go on USPTO.gov, it's really easy to find this. It asks you a bunch of questions about what you're inventing, what you're doing, and it will help you identify, okay, you have a trademark in this, you probably should consider a patent here, you might have copyright. It really helps you kind of break down the pieces. Because I know a lot of inventors just locked onto the patent, because that's the guts of what you're doing. But this helps you kind of see the bigger picture, which is great. We have this thing called the Trademark Registration Toolkit. It's a PDF you can download. It's about 10 pages. It gives you a really comprehensive walk through the things that the big things you need to be aware of as you go into the process. It's quite useful. The best thing, though, I will tell you is, if a trademark is going to be a big part of what you're doing, sign up for Trademark Basics Bootcamp. It's 8 weeks. It's 1 day a week, 1 session a week. It's taught by some really brilliant people. It's free. It will take you through everything you really need to know, including how to file, how to prosecute it, how to search, all that kind of stuff. They're just brilliant. What's cool about this is this started during the pandemic because we couldn't travel anywhere. And it was originally designed for people who, you can file to register your trademark without a lawyer. Probably better with one, but you don't have to. You can DIY this if you want. And so we designed this, and in fact, 25% of all the people who file trademark applications, we get over 500,000 a year. 25% of those are filed by people who are doing it themselves. So Bootcamp was created to help them learn about the process, and so they could come in as a smarter brand owner. Well, it was so good and so successful, we now have learned that law firms send their young lawyers and send their paralegals to Bootcamp for training, because they told us, they said, we can't do this as well as you can for as well organized. So sign up for it. It runs about 4 times a year. It's brilliant. So
excellent. And if you need to jot down the URLs there, you can see them right there. You can pause your screen if you watch this on the replay, and we can also put it in the Inventor Smart Community app that you can reference with the replay. So if you missed it, then you have it right here.
Yeah,
that's great. Excellent.
Okay, you said you had some questions.
Yeah, it looks like
a
good amount of questions. So we have this after meeting networking going on, but we can wait. I see some people in the waiting room there patiently waiting for the after meeting. But let's take a look at some of these questions that we have. So let's see. Let me just put this up here. Let's see. We have. All right. Rizzy, how do they track if you're using a trademark before deeming it abandoned?
Essentially, you're talking. I assume you mean somebody else besides you. I mean, you're keeping track of your own. The only way you can keep track of it, somebody can find it out, is they have to investigate it. So what happens is this: let's say you're using a trademark, but not too much. Let's say you make wine and you're making about 5 cases a year. Well, if I'm a company and I'm looking at a new trademark and I see your registration, I'm like, well, I don't know, are they using it or not? I'll go out and investigate that. And if I have an investigator and they find out that, hey, they're only using it 5 cases a year, then that's how you do it. It's an investigation process, because a lot of times we call up companies and they say, we haven't used that for years, but the registration is still there.
Okay.
So I hope that answers your question, but
Thank you.
It's not, we don't abandon them. Abandonment occurs because somebody else challenges it.
So after a certain amount of time, we have to check in and file some kind of statement that we're still using it, right?
Correct.
And if we don't, then it becomes abandoned.
Yeah.
But we could still be using it in commerce.
Correct.
So that doesn't mean that you can use it, even though it's not officially registered anymore.
That's right. That's right. That's why when you're doing a search, if you come across let's say you picked a new mark you want to use, let's say it's Rizzi's Rainbow, and you do a search for it, and there's a registration for Rizzi out there, and it shows abandoned. They forgot to file the renewal. Don't assume that they stopped using it. Double check it, search, investigate it, because you're right. Maybe they forgot.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Rizzi.
yeah, good question.
Next, Ginger. If there isn't a class of goods for the name I want to trademark, what should I do? I see something on your website about suggesting a new class for an extra $100.
So the classes are set by treaty. U.S. cooperates with a number of other countries. So the class, there are only certain classes. What I think you're describing is the description of the goods within a class. So if you're in an area that is just not been done before, and that happens, that's when you go to the office and you say, I want this identification accepted so that I can use it automatically in the future. You don't have to do that, but if you file a lot of applications with that technology, you may want to think about doing that.
And how do we?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. How do we find what class of goods our invention is in, or the mark that we want to use?
Yeah, if you go into a search engine of any kind and put in International Classification System Trademarks, and it will take you to the international system, and there's a U.S. version on the USPTO.gov account, but it's universal, and that'll tell you, all the things in Class 9, let's say, or all the things in Class 25.
Does this ring a bell? Is that a Luma Niva? I thought it was a trademark.
I don't know. Does not ring a bell to me.
I'm not sure about that one. All right. Oh, we got Ginger one more time. If someone else's trademark on the USPTO database is dead, can you trademark it? We just kind of covered that, right?
Yeah. The answer is, and this is one of those situations. Let's assume that somebody had a registration and they let it lapse, and you pick up the exact same trademark. And let's say that you go do your search and you're like, oh, that's dead. You can file for it. The answer is you probably can get it registered. The trouble is because the examiner looks at what's on the R register. They don't go out and look on Google, and they don't go out and do that stuff for that. But if that first owner is still using it, then they can cancel your registration. So that's why you just don't want to risk it.
Got it. Okay. So in the realm of trademarks, is there a current issue or topic that you find particularly interesting? If so, could you share why it stands out to you?
That's a really good question. So the scams is a big deal. It is a big deal. We're going after tens of thousands of bogus applications every year. So scams are a big deal. The other thing is the modernization of all our systems at the office has turned a corner literally at the end of last month when we retired a system that was 40 years old. For you computer programmer types, it was based on a predecessor to COBOL. That's how old it is. So now we're going to be able to really modernize much more quickly. That's a big deal. We pay attention to a lot of things. Counterfeits, a big deal. Everybody's going to have an issue in their business at some point with it. And so we try to do a lot with that. A lot of things with education. Because I want people to be smart trademark owners. The thing you want is if you're a trademark owner, you want to be a good one and protect what you've got, and et cetera. So we also see things like there's a lot of countries that are trying to pass laws that ban certain kinds of trademarks, or are saying, well, you can't use this kind of trademark anymore because we violate some principle in their world of some kind. And that type of thing is becoming more problematic as the people start to decide, well, maybe we can solve this big societal problem if we just get trademark owners to stop doing X.
Got it. Well, let's see. We have two more quick questions here. So Gib is asking, I thought non-USA residents need to use a lawyer?
They do. That's correct.
Okay.
And use a lawyer licensed in the US somewhere.
Okay. how we got notified if someone else is trying to cancel our trademark, or shall we monitor or trademark status on USPTO frequently?
That's a great question. Okay, two things. Yes, monitor your trademark. If you get a registration and your trademark's important to you, you can either constantly look at it yourself. I don't recommend that. There are companies that you give them your trademark, you pay them maybe, I don't know, $150 a year or whatever, and they will notify you every time some trademark gets filed that they think is somewhat similar to yours. It's absolutely worth it to do it. There's a number of vendors for that kind of thing. If somebody tries to cancel your trademark and let's say they file this so-called notice of cancellation, or if it's still pending and they file a notice of opposition, you will get notified of it at the email address that you put into the record when you filed. We will notify you. But yeah, if you're absolutely monitor it. And if it's still pending, meaning it hasn't been registered yet, absolutely keep checking it every few months to see if there's anything going on with it, because email is email, right? I mean, it's pretty darn good, but it's not infallible.
Okay. And there was a question about word marks versus logos with the name. If you can just kind of touch on what that might mean.
Yeah. Okay. So a good example is actually, well, we could use the logo right here, or we can use your National Inventors Club logo. So word marks are the broadest kind of protection, and all it covers is the words in that trademark. You think about Nike, you have a word mark Nike, but you have that swoosh, right? So the swoosh is a design, what we call a design mark. And then you sometimes have marks that have both in them. So your National Inventor Club has, the name of National Inventor Club, but then it has that great logo with the light bulb and the circle and the stars and stuff. That's essentially three marks: the words, the logo, the light bulb, and then all of them locked up together. So technically, you've literally got three marks there that you might file to protect. But that's what we mean when we say, well, we're hands down the most powerful registration to get, and it ought to be the first one you file, unless there's a strategic reason not to, is the word mark. Because over time, you may change the logo, but the word mark is neutral as to any design. So then companies do that, right? Over time, think about how trademarks and logos migrate over the years.
That's a lesson that I learned a long time ago, and I share with many people, is that the word mark is powerful. So to hear it from the Commissioner of Trademarks is, I'm glad I'm saying the right thing all these years.
Yeah, you are.
That's great. So David, you've been helping us with this great information throughout. You have the Trademark Assistance Center and the USPTO Assistance Center there. If you can share with us, because there are inventors at all stages of the invention process that are listening and watching tonight, can you share with us some final words of wisdom for you? We're somewhere along the way with our invention. We're most likely going to come up with a name at some point, a logo, a brand. What are some words of wisdom for us to leave us with, David?
Yeah, good question. One thing is, you can file two different ways for registration. You can file based on the fact that you're already using it in this interstate commerce. If that's the boat you're in, meaning you just didn't get around to it fast enough, file it. Just don't wait around to file it. But you can also file based on your intent to use a mark in the future. And that means if you're saying, well, I'm not going to market yet, but I've picked a mark, this is what I want to do, file for it based on that intent to use. You can keep those alive for, depending on how long prosecution takes right now, which is about 8 months, another 3 years past that. And it's designed to help people get in there, get their place in line, and then eventually, when you use the trademark, you can convert it and get it registered. There is a limit on how long you can do that for, but most people can get to market in 3 years. I mean, it's just, you've got to keep those alive. But it's just file whatever you do. Don't delegate it to somebody else. Make sure it gets done. A lot of ad agencies will say, "Oh, we'll take care of that for you." Don't let anybody else do it.
Right.
Because if somebody else does it, they might say, "Oh, I just happened to do it under my name. I thought I was doing you a favor." I can't tell you the number of disputes around the world. Distributors, especially, if you're talking to a company that wants to distribute your product, do not let them do it. do it yourself. Even if they're like, well, they're going to pay for it. It's $1,000 or $500, whatever it is. Don't do it yourself. Own it yourself.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
So we very much appreciate you joining us. We get to do this again in a couple of weeks with SCORE, with you and Commissioner Vishali from the patent side. So we'll keep the community up to date on that. And I know that we'll dig a little bit deeper on that one also. And thank you again. The resources are there for us. We have ways to increase our intellectual property, our assets through trademarks. And this was a great foundation for us to get started. So we appreciate you. Thank you, David.
Good. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll see you again soon.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Don't forget to check out the Inventor Smart Community app. There is plenty of activity going on. And if you are on our mailing list or in the app, you can now head on over to that after meeting networking link that you received, and we will see you on the Zoom. And some of our speakers, our guest speakers and intro speakers that we're on will be in the after meeting also. Until the next time, keep moving your invention ideas forward. The next month, the date to be announced, we are going to have an inventor showcase. There are some other great guests that we have coming up that I almost have the dates for, and we'll announce them very soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you from National Inventor Club. Bye-bye.